Welcome back. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and Mscribe. And today we got you some Inscribed.space.
Inscribed.space, dude.
That's right.
So we've talked about this project numerous times in the past.
Yes.
For good reason.
Just some updates here and there, but we decided to go a little bit deeper.
Yeah, so we have, I guess we're doing like a new thing where we want to spotlight a creator, developer, team, initiative, whatever is going on in the ordinals or Bitmap, or just building on the Bitcoin ecosystem sphere, right? And we're going to start this with Inscribed.space because I think this is a prime demonstration of like why Bitmap matters.
Yeah.
Like what was the, for all the people who are fading bitmaps all along, why should we even attempt to do something like this? What is the end result? This is as far as we have up until this date, this is the best representation of what Bitmap enables and what can be built and constructed as a result.
Yeah, this is one piece of representation of what Bitmap can do.
Correct.
And so what is Inscribed.space? So definitely go to Inscribed.space. And you'll be treated to a landing page, and then eventually it will get you to a builder that they've built. And with this builder, you can pretty much make everything that you see here. So it's like a maze, a platformer.
Yeah.
And everything here is inscribed on top of Bitcoin.
Correct. So as far as like virtual environment layers, this is the most in line with the ethos of decentralization as you can get. Right?
Yes.
Typically, game companies like spin up their own virtual environments, call them metaverses and stuff, and they release their own builder tool.
That's right.
To populate this space.
Yeah, Sandbox has one.
Decentraland
has a builder.
Yeah.
Maybe even Roblox has one.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but their builder tool is very, very robust because, they want games and stuff to be created. Very customizable.
So, but a builder means very specifically one thing. Is like you don't have to be a programmer. So is that what Roblox has?
No, you
have to be a programmer in Roblox.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's what
what
I thought.
But the no-code builders are starting to emerge. A lot of different metaverse ecosystems. I think that is the focus, right? Because you want obviously the virtual space in Bitmap specifically. It's in the hands of a lot of non-developers, and that tends to be the case for a lot of different virtual world ecosystems like Decentraland, Sandbox, all of them, right? Majority of people who own this digital space, they don't know how to build on top of it. Yeah. So the effort of building the right tooling for these types of users of the metaverse is like critical, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're just going to be living in, there's nothing. It's just like an empty space.
Yeah, you're going to be relying on developers to build out your experiences.
Yeah, which is costly.
Yeah. Yeah, very.
Yeah.
Okay, so all the links will be in the description. Let's kind of take a look at what we got here. So this is the tool that that Inscribed.space started building. It's in beta. And what you're looking at here is actually one of my bitmaps. And so this is procedurally generated platformer, and we can take a look at what this looks like in world. So here I am. I'm on this green space here, and I can hop around.
Yeah, so this is, when you say procedurally generated, what does that actually mean?
So it just means that you basically feed it a piece of data, like your bitmap number, and you can...
oh, you fell to the crack, dude.
Yeah.
So you're gone forever, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Unless you just do a refresh.
Yeah.
There you go.
So you basically feed it some data, and it generates something for you, like without having you to actually like build out all these things, right?
Yeah, so it's basically like a pre-made algorithm.
Yeah, correct.
And it considers whatever it is that algorithm is considering to generate like these different positionings.
Yeah.
The different shapes and sizes, all this stuff, right? It's already pre-configured. So yeah, like you said, you just type in your bitmap. So this is one of the features of this tool.
That's correct.
And I'm assuming this is just like the beginning of that. You can extrapolate so many different like use cases for this type of process.
Yeah. So what kind of what's the extent of this? So in one of their tweets, it says, "I'm continually awestruck by the creative wonders people can conjure here. Just etch the Ordinals Art Museum." And so if you look at this, I mean,
Skittles.
We got Skittles. We got all kinds of ordinal art here.
I mean, this is sick. This is great.
Yeah.
Like this is something, again, for all the ordinal faders, all the people for whatever reason just continually want to fade Bitmap, and they're like part of the ordinal ecosystem, and they cherish their digital art so much. I don't understand how you can't like see the utility of like what the Bitmap metaverse represents. I mean, now your art is like you can actually experience it in a much more enhanced, enriched methodology, right? As opposed to just it's sitting in your wallet
or some website. Like this is more engaging and multiplayer version of it.
Well, not yet. Specifically,
not this specifically yet, but
obviously that is one of the killer like components to the metaverse, right? So that has to be regarded, and we're gonna.
That's like one of the pillars, right? It's not a metaverse until there's like a multiplayer experience,
in our opinion. Yeah, I think
in
by definition it should be. Yeah,
I think in many opinions, I think that's the case. I mean, because right now when you surf the internet, and does anyone say surf anymore?
Just you.
Can confirm, just you.
Just you, dude. What do the cool kids say nowadays, dude?
It's like
we're fucking
glide.
Are you we're not gliding through the web, dude. We're I don't know, we're fucking
cruising.
We're just zooming.
There you go.
We're all zoomers now, right?
Yeah.
So
well, while you're zooming through the internet, you quickly realize that this is a single player experience.
Yeah.
Right? And so why not jump onto the internet and have a multiplayer experience, and that's the metaverse.
Yeah, I mean the killer apps of Web 2 seem to be multiplayer, right? Like it's like obviously like Twitter seems it's a semblance of multiplayer, right? I mean you're engaging with
that's like passive multiplayer. It's like you tweet and then people interact and it's not real time.
Exactly. So you could replicate that type of utility in an actual multiplayer environment.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, when the killer, like the threshold's going to break where people understand, okay.
And I think that's where Twitter Spaces comes in because Twitter Spaces is real-time interaction.
Yeah, that's why it's so like addicting for most people.
Yeah, it's weird. Weirdly addicting.
Yeah. It's like, well, people naturally want to be, communal and people naturally want to interact,
and talk.
Yeah,
man,
share ideas.
There's some talkers out there, dude. It's crazy.
Absolutely. So this is just some examples of like cool stuff that can be built with this tool.
Yeah,
and it's very primitive because it just was released, but the core concepts behind it is what makes it so like high esteem, right? Like this is all on chain and is using like the latest technology of recursion.
Yeah.
And who knows what else? So we did like an interview series with just an interview and written out AMA.
Yes.
Because unfortunately, the founder of this project is not able to come on and do a recorded podcast for language barriers.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of enriching information in this AMA we did, and we're going to publish this on our first Block Runner weekly newsletter.
That's right.
I think we're calling it Bitmap Takeover. I don't know. We're still debating on what the name of it specifically.
Ordinal Takeover, probably.
Yeah, we might have a couple editions a week, but we want to feature, creators, developers, anything that anybody's working on, right? So we get like another vertical of, insight into what it is they're doing. So
so let's go over some of the questions here. What is it about Bitmap that convinced you to begin developing and dedicate your time and efforts towards tool building? So he says, the concept of the metaverse has always held a special fascination for me. I have fond memories of early days of Decentraland when it made its debut, featuring exciting treasure hunts and joy of venturing into the diverse parcels. As for Bitmap aspect, my passion for coding led me to it immediately. The notion of extracting meaning from block data and creating something extraordinary from it was truly remarkable. So that's source existence in the metaverse is Decentraland. That's a good sign.
I guess so, because we have something in common, and we have also fond memories of those early days, right?
Yeah, we stayed up all night.
Yeah,
preparing for that. I mean, we had like a business going.
Yeah, we had MetaZone. We had like functional applications deployed, throughout the entire virtual environment of Decentraland.
Yeah,
we didn't know exactly what was going to happen whenever the thing actually launched, but everything worked out well.
Yeah, we built MetaZone during the alpha stages of Decentraland's world.
Correct.
And we didn't even know how soon Decentraland would launch its virtual world, right?
Yeah.
To the public.
Yeah.
Because it was only a few of us that were allowed to go in and explore.
Mm-hmm.
So that was interesting. And so the Decentraland experience was unique because that was the first time we had a virtual world in the Web3 space actually come to fruition.
And it makes sense why his origins stem from Decentraland based on his, obvious complex code knowledge, right?
Yeah,
His ability to create actual functional products,
Yeah,
right?
right.
So he's a developer. And as far as like Web3 metaverse ecosystem, Decentraland is the only one where like developers could actually do something, right? Because they had an SDK.
Right.
And so from day one, that's what attracted, good devs like Inscribed Space to the, to build and, experiment. So it's really what we want to kind of like get to as far as bitmaps as well. We want to enable that same thing, right? We need the core framework to develop, functionality within this ecosystem, because that's what's going to attract more devs.
Yeah, we talk about that a lot. We talk about how we need a metaverse stack.
Correct.
And then that stack needs to have eventually an SDK associated with it.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we're looking at here, right? This is the beginnings of a stack, and one that we haven't seen before, where everything is on chain and you can inscribe these things.
Right.
It's badass.
So speaking of, what was the decision behind fully on-chain metaverse ecosystem? And he says that he was working before on a semi-on-chain metaverse that didn't get too much attention. But as soon as they shifted focus on an entirely on-chain approach, we quickly caught the eye of prominent industry players, and our motivation for the shift was clear: to pioneer a truly decentralized metaverse. So that's what we're looking at here. So this thing is, I mean, once I inscribe it, it's going to be fully on-chain.
Yeah.
And there's no way to take this down anymore once it's on-chain. And that's the value.
Yeah, typically that hasn't really existed. I mean,
it existed in a pseudo kind of way.
Yeah.
Right? Because all those images that we got accustomed to in the Ethereum mania in 2021, 2022, all those existed on a server that a developer was paying for.
Correct.
And so as soon as the developer stops paying for it, those pictures go away. They can become question marks.
Yeah.
And who wants question marks?
Yeah, so this is what I mean by like this is the best attempt at creating a metaverse stack, a metaverse environment, whatever, that's truly aligned with the ethos of what people are interpreting as the most valuable thing about Web3, and it's core of decentralizing as much as we can. And we always wondered, like, the content layer itself, I mean, the market's going to decide whether or not, like, the content layer being as, on-chain as anything else, whether or not that makes that environment more, valuable or not.
Yeah, I guess we need to, I think it's going to require a little bit more maturity. Like, what exactly needs to be on-chain and what doesn't?
Correct.
Like, do we need our networking server that puts us in the same room to be completely off on-chain? Like, I don't know. Maybe we do. Maybe there's some event where it requires some project to censor something, and so it motivates somebody to create some sort of decentralized networking procedure protocol.
Yeah.
And but we haven't seen that yet. And again, it might not even be that important. Right. So here's another question. Can you elaborate on the scope of the endeavors? Do your tools apply to the average Bitmap user who has no development skills, or are you addressing the advanced developer with the potential SDK? So upon exploring our builder tutorial and giving our builder a try, you'll find that grasping the concept and controls is quite intuitive. This means that anyone can learn to create worlds with ease. Currently, we don't have immediate plans to implement SDK, but it's definitely a possibility for the future.
So that's good. It's good to hear.
The SDK thing is pretty complex.
Very. That's definitely a lot to like ask, anybody to kind of like put out there. But obviously, maybe it's more of like a collective effort where different contributors need to kind of like, add in to some sort of a process.
Well, it's very intricate. There's a lot of maintenance associated with an SDK, and then you run the risk of nobody using it and then monetizing it. Right. So a lot of difficulties come along with like an SDK.
I think the monetization comes from the products that result of putting one out there in the first place.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of everything again that Bitmap represents. It's going to be a necessary core infrastructure component for developers. So there needs to be some sort of effort to make it a reality, right? Because the end result product of that is robustness and functionality, and we could do anything in this ecosystem now. Like,
ultimately, like what I see about the metaverse, like in the future, is we're gonna bring all the functionality that we're used to in the crypto space, like DeFi, bring that into the metaverse and just contextualize the functionality of DeFi in like a 3D space.
Yeah.
So like if you're mining, if you're gonna be doing some yield farming, like it would look like some sort of 3D activity.
Yeah.
Right. That's visually
Yeah.
represented.
If we're advocating that, the digital art experience is enhanced in 3D space, 3D immersive virtual space, then I'm pretty sure the financialization of digital assets would also be enhanced in a 3D.
Yeah, I feel like
space.
in a 3D environment, you can. It's easier to understand what's happening with like a yield farm.
Mm-hmm.
At least you can, as a developer, you can sort of represent all the steps of what happens in a yield farm in some sort of 3D context.
Yeah, and then you add more like gamification to it, right? And
right.
Make it more appealing, I guess, to a bigger demographic, not necessarily just a bunch of people who understand finance from the rip, which is obviously a huge stretch. Like, not most people aren't fond of financial,
instruments.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So why not let's leverage the metaverse to make that more appealing and more engaging to a broader audience. So. And the only way to do that is with some sort of, SDK framework or developer or something, right?
Yeah.
We need devs to build all this stuff. So it's good to know that it doesn't exist now, and I don't think anybody expected anything like that to exist 3 months post blockout.
Yeah.
But it's potentially on the horizon.
All right, so for people interested in owning a Bitmap and getting started on building out their own metaverse experience on Bitcoin, lay out the different tools and processes you are developing to empower their creative potential and what these uses will be to construct with them. And so we have parcels, so utilize a bitmap and its transaction data to add ground to build on top of. We have a maze game, harness all block data to create a captivating maze game. A platformer game, employ all block data to deploy engaging platformers. So what's the commonality that you see here, Iman? What is this?
The leveraging of data, dude.
Right.
Which definitely, I think
that's the new meta, right?
Yeah, that's why we decided, or for whatever reason, we wanted to like come up or slap an umbrella,
a term,
like nomenclature to this process we continually see like replicating throughout this, building on Bitcoin ecosystem. Mm-hmm. People are just intuitively like finding the value in that and bringing it out. So we're calling that digital matter theory. It could be called anything, really.
Yeah.
But I think it's important for all developers in this ecosystem to kind of like, have that shared understanding. Like there is value in that has been untapped.
Yeah. So
as opposed to just doing what we've always been doing, right?
Yeah. So is it that? What do you think it is about the block data that,
it's not arbitrary, dude.
Yeah. Projects like Inscribed Space just like can just leverage it. Like, why leverage it? I guess it's
why not, dude?
It's new, right?
Yeah, that's my response to that question is always why the fuck not? It's just why wouldn't you like take the venture or the path unventured? I guess is like see what results come from it.
Yeah, we
already know what an arbitrary like a digital economy looks like. We've been building one for
because I'm trying to think. If Inscribed Space didn't leverage block data, it would be sort of like open. Right, it's like you have like a platformer game that you can kind of arbitrarily put everything.
Well, that's what he's saying here too. It's essential to emphasize that we have no intention of restricting anyone's imagination. So,
I see.
Yeah,
so the option is there.
Yeah,
yeah.
By recognizing this, it's not like saying this is in any way superior to arbitrary digital creation mechanics.
Right.
It's just now there's two options.
Right.
Either you arbitrarily spin up this like digital layer, or you use information and data to non-arbitrarily spin up a virtual layer, and just have those side by side comparisons.
Yeah, I'm not huge on art, but I feel like there is beauty in like leveraging the block data. It's like this is what my my Inscribed Space maze game looks like, based on the block data.
And I think that's I think. Because you have difficulty in finding the beauty in actual art, like human rendered art. Because trust me, we've been. I've realized this you don't see it, right? You don't feel it,
right?
But this, you've already identified the beauty because of the underlying data.
Well, I think it's because the underlying data comes from like an organic usage of a chain that we are all interacting and manipulating.
Yeah.
Like there's something to that.
Absolutely. I'm with you 100%. You know, I see beauty on both perspectives,
Yeah.
which is the point. Again, it's like, why wouldn't we do this? You know,
Right.
if beauty exists again on that path on venture.
I guess I'm trying to talk myself out of doing more work. That's what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this
Yeah.
falls in line with, like, you know, what AI enables as well. It's like, let's just let what already exists. Like, all AI operates off of existing data and information that we've provided.
Yeah.
You can build large
point.
language models off of that. So this is just an extrapolation. Again,
That's true.
AI is DMT, dude.
It keeps going.
Yeah, it just keeps going. We're doing it.
All right. Okay. So I think we're almost done here.
Yeah, these are just some quick updates on what's going on. We can feature this in watch our Wednesday Bitmap takeover edition. We'll feature some of this stuff later on.
Yeah.
But definitely subscribe to this newsletter, because we only went over like 4 questions, I think, and I think in total there's about 10 or 11.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna continue to do this, break down as far as we can, like what is motivating all these different developers to do what it is they're doing.
Right. So yeah, to sign up, make sure you go to theblockrunner.com and you'll find an entry form there just for newsletter. It's pretty simple, just your email. That's it for us. That's been Inscribed Space. Thank you for answering all those questions, and all the links will be in the description. Follow us on all our Twitter accounts, and we will catch you in the next video.
Peace.